So I just thought it would be good for the Discover Work Partnership to set the context a little bit for today before we have our main speakers. So yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. We're going to do a recording of this so your colleagues can see it afterwards. Anyone who couldn't make it will be welcome to jump on it. We'll email it out along with the slides after this today. So yeah, pass it on to anyone you think could use it. Yes, so we're going to have a range of speakers today, and there'll be lots of useful information for you and your clients and your colleagues, and we're really hoping to boost the awareness of what's available in the health and social care sector, as well as give you a little bit of information as to why we think this is quite an important time to do this. So basically, I just want to set the scene a little bit here. So we're at a kind of unprecedented time in terms of the health and social care sector. There's a lot of demand. And as you will probably have seen in the news, there's quite a lot of struggles to get the staff that we need to support this sector. So, 17,000 vacancies in Scotland in the sector, and a lot of providers are saying that they're struggling to get people in. We know why the pressures are there. Things like COVID, the after effects of that, inflation driving the costs up, and of course, the end of freedom of movement has meant that a lot of people who would work in the sector are now no longer here or are not coming in to replace those that are leaving. I'm not going to go through all of this, but I would really encourage anyone who wants to dive a little bit deeper into this to use the Skills Development Scotland's regional skills assessment. And as you can see here, this is the kind of projected for 22 to 25, the numbers of people that we will need to aid. In the green, you can see the people that we'll need to replace. So that's 2,800, and then it will expand by at least 400 people. And now, that's enough. But I think what's really interesting is the years beyond this. This sector is going to become probably the biggest employer in our region. And I think as employability providers, we should be paying attention to that. That's quite stark. Almost 9,000 people will be employed in this sector in the coming kind of decade. So I think we should pay attention to that, and we need to tell the story about why you should enter this brilliant sector and how we can explain that to people entering the labour market. So some of the background to this is about demographic change. So we have an ageing population in the UK, and Scotland is not insulated from that. So that means that the baby boomer generation, the biggest generation of all time, are going to age, and we're going to need to look after them. But we don't have quite as many younger people coming into the labour force. So that presents a problem in terms of the labour market. It means that we're going to be kind of out of proportion as to how we look after them. And that means we need to bring more people into the sector one way or another. Uncertainties about our particular labour market around exit from the EU and just labour shortages in general are going to play into that as well. Hopefully automation and the digital economy can help that, but at the moment we haven't quite seen the bright shiny future of robots that we expected yet, so we'll have to do it ourselves for a little while longer. Just to kind of get you thinking about what clients might need to enter this sector, this is just an aggregate of what all the job adverts have said in the region, and the skills on the left here. That's what employers are saying that they need. And on the right, you can see the kind of the medium income, salary, and also the kind of job postings that have been posted online. So it's quite interesting. I'd invite people to come and kind of go back and look at that, either with clients or with their teams, just to consider it. So that's for social care and obviously related healthcare. They don't get separated sometimes, health and social care, but I just thought it'd be interesting for you to see how similar the skills are, and you know, there's not a huge gap in salary either. So I've taken this slide from the Discover Work strategy that we've launched this year. I'll put some links at the end of this presentation. I would invite anyone in Dundee who's working in employability to read this. We did quite a lot of work on looking at what we call the talent pool, or the hidden talent in Dundee, and people who are, you know, not in the labour market, known as inactive or unemployed. You know, we feel that there's quite a big story to be told about helping people to enter the workforce again. So whether they're on long-term sick or however that works, there's a lot of people who say they would like to work who currently aren't, and they're not on mainstream benefits like you see. So that's a story that we as employability providers can tell, and we can kind of support people to do that. And you know your clients, so you're the ones that will be able to tell this story in a way that works for them. But yeah, about 11,000 people could enter the labour market in Dundee who are not. Now that's way above the Scottish average for the proportion. So that's one of our major strategy points for the next 5 years, is to make a big dent in that. So the key points to take away, just before our main event speakers come on, the population is aging, so that means we're going to require more health and social care staff for services. This sector will have huge opportunities for development for people who are coming into it now. If you think about the expansion and replacement demand alone, that means that someone coming in at entry level just now is going to have opportunities to really earn and to do some fantastic career expansion. So it's just something that maybe we can highlight to our clients. There's going to be massive opportunities. And, you know, we already see this, that employers are needing our help for recruitment. And as employability providers, we can provide solutions, and we can be creative in moving forward. Yeah, we have a role to play in bringing new talent into the sector, and you know, that's what we do. We're problem solvers. So that's it for me for now. But I think moving forward, I would invite anyone to kind of contact me, and I'll send these slides out. If you have any questions about our strategy and you want to kind of brainstorm some stuff, that's what Jane and I are here for. You know, we're the Discover Work Partnership development officers, so we'd be happy to speak to anyone about that. So yeah, thanks guys. And bringing our colleagues from the Healthcare Academy. Joan.
Good morning, lovely to see you. I don't know if I have to maybe lower that. I'm just a little bit smaller. I'm Carol Bain and I'm the Head of Curriculum and Quality at Dundee and Angus College. And I've got my colleague Joan Lane here, Employability Lead, and Michelle Slater, who's probably hiding somewhere at the back there, who's our point of contact, and she's going to support us with the Academy as well from Discover Work Partnership as well. So really, thank you so much for inviting us along. I think it's really important to highlight the success, I suppose, of the Healthcare Academy, which has been going for 16 years. And, you know, we'll tell you the success stories as we go on. So what is the actual sort of agenda for the Academy? It is a pre-employment training programme, as you can see, and it was designed by NHS employees and obviously working with Dundee and Angus College as well. And really it's about, you know, supporting people to hopefully get into NHS. We obviously have the Job Centre, plus we've got Discover Work Partners as well as NHS Tayside, who support us with this programme as well, which has been really invaluable. So really what we're really aiming to do is to really enhance the skills and the training that is going to be really important for the healthcare sector. And to get that work experience is absolutely pivotal. Now, we have had post-COVID, we did have a programme running, but unfortunately we were not able to put them into a care setting at that time. So this is quite exciting to actually have them coming out in this very near future to actually get back into a clinical area, which is a fantastic experience for them. And really, just as Andy was saying, it's really about supporting, that the strategy that is really important about, tapping into the talents and the skills of people within the region, and to give them the development opportunities for employment as well, which is going to be really supporting us all. I'm one of the baby boomers, so it'll be supporting me in my old age if I get there as well. So really, I think the important thing to look at is the kind of content. Now, we've been kind of really revamping and refreshing over the last few years, and it's really about, what we can deliver, just not at college, but also in the workplace as well, and also the employability skills that Michelle and her team will be tapping into as well, and supporting individuals on their journey. So what do they do at college? Well, they do basic first aid. So they're actually going to do a full day first aid, and they do get a certification, which again, they can take anywhere with any employer, which is really good. They do a 2-day manual handling passport with NHS as well. And again, really support them to, to get the skills to be able to care for others, and then take that certification elsewhere. And they're also going to get the SIPSEP training, and it's through NHS Education for Scotland, and it is a pathway of education. And again, it's a certification. It's an online programme from NHS, but they get the certification and they can take that away with them again. So there's 3 certifications that are actually really, really important for these individuals. And we do basic IT as well with these individuals. We do MSS Teams. We do that because our platform of education is through Teams. So everything that they do on the programme, it'll all be through the Teams process, and just sort of give them an understanding of IT skills as well, just to prepare them. The main thing that we focus on at the college is really preparing them for the sort of the ethics of care, and what is it like to work in health and social care, and those sort of values, and set that scene really of what we expect from individuals when they're out in a care setting. So that's a really important element, and we work really well with the Health and Care Social Care Code of Conduct, which is obviously through the NHS, and really to sort of embed that in, because that's their sort of point of contact really about how they're going to perform in a job, if they're successful and get a job with NHS. So values and principles really important. Not only do we look at sort of preparing them for the healthcare social code of conduct, we also kind of tap into social care contact codes as well. And really embedding the fact that, this environment is about confidentiality. It's about, maintaining safeguarding for individuals as well. So really drawing on the codes of conduct is really important when we're teaching people at the college. The professionals that we have nurses, myself a nurse, general nurse, and we have mental health nurses, we have social workers that will be taking part in this programme as well. And we also have psychologists, community ComEd as well. So we've got quite a range of professionals that can deliver on this programme. So we really like to establish that they're going to be working with many individuals when they're out there in a care environment. So we do look at mental health issues that might be important for them when they're trying to work with individuals and understand their own behaviour. So we look at human development and behaviour as well. So really just trying to get them to understand, why people behave in a particular way, to ensure that they're giving them the best care. So really it's just all introduction, because it's a very short programme of study, but again, it's just to sort of give them the foundations for preparing them to working with other people. We also look at their own health, well-being and resilience, because that is a major part of a care industry, is that, you have to look after yourself, and, they will go into environments that, perhaps there would be a death. So somebody, I think one of them did have a death just in this last, experience. And it was just, how do they deal with that, that formal sort of supervision out in a practice setting. But again, coming back to college and discussing it. So it's about supporting them with their own well-being and making sure that they're, feeling supported and, can cope with the demands of the job, to be honest, which can be very difficult. We also, because they're out in a practice setting, we like them to be very self-aware. So we look at, their own body language, to think about, how they're behaving with other people. So really to take stock and think, actually, what is your image? How is that coming over to other people? And then reflecting on that and thinking about particular experiences that they've maybe had in a practice setting as well. And think, well, actually, how did you deal with that? And how are you going to cope with that in the future? What are you going to do that's going to be different? We look at team working as well, very important when you're working in health and social care, is to actually think, you can't do the job in isolation, you need to work with others, and you need support from other people as well, and how you're going to do that. The other thing that is really important, we've kind of really embedded that in the last few years, is practical caring skills. Personal care is something that they will come across. And I think it's really important for yourselves to think, is that something that people that you're working with is going to, really be able to undertake. So it is going to be intimate care for a lot of people, and that can put a lot of people off. So I think, when I'm in the clinical area with them, we go over personal care, we do oral hygiene, we do bed bathing, we look at continence care, we look at bowel care, because some people might have stomas. And we also look at pressure area care and how to relieve the skin and make sure that they've got good skin integrity as well. So although it's a sort of snapshot, it's something that they will be experiencing when they go out into a practice setting. And to make them feel confident to maybe do it slightly not right in the practical room under sort of supervision, to be able to kind of do it right when they get into a practical area, it really enhances their confidence and their self-esteem as well. And they really enjoy the practical experiences as well. Okay, thanks, Joe.
So after the students have done all their mandatory training, they then come out onto placement, and that's where I become involved. So as Carol says, we are quite direct at the information session and let them know that it is intimate and personal care. And if people are not at least prepared to try it, then maybe it's not the course for them. So we want to make sure we get the right people and they're going to get the best experience. So we have 3 separate placements, and each placement is 4 days in duration. And I always like to make sure that the students get an opportunity to do at least one in a clinical setting. Although it's a healthcare academy, I would say that the majority of people do kind of, if they get a role, it's within the clinical setting. There are times people get maybe like porter or admin, but on the whole, I would say that the majority of people go into clinical settings. We also let them know that it's likely to include shift work and personal care. So if people have kind of care responsibilities, looking after children or elderly people, that the job is 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. So they have to be prepared to work in these settings. So the work in the placement as if they were a staff member, and the last course that we delivered, they had amazing experience. Being able to go into theatres, seeing operations being carried out, just lots of different, using their communication skills if they were going on maybe a mental health placement. So we have lots of different placements, not just within 9 Wells, but over places like Royal Victoria, Kingsway Care, Carsview. So the students get a great opportunity to try different things, and 3 different placements as well. So when they're on placement, the member of the department will provide a report on their performance, but they also get an opportunity to report on how they felt. And you might ask, why 4 days? Well, 4 days is long enough to know if you're going to like something, but if you're not particularly liking it, then you could throw it for 4 days. And then, as Carol says, on the 5th day, we'll come back and we go over what was good, maybe what wasn't so good, and then they'll be given their placement for the following week. So that's just a wee example of some of the placements, but we have got a lot more placements than that. So it's more entry-level posts, but I think, as Andy alluded to, that once you're in the NHS, it's really up to yourself how far you go. We've had people that have come through, and Carol has had them through the HNC course, and then a few of them have then gone on to do to be registered nurses. So I think the NHS has great potential for people to go on and do other things. You could come in as one thing and then carry on. And we've had people from the first healthcare academy that are now senior managers within the board. So it's really up to people what they want to do. We do need people to stay in the same jobs, but we need people to move on as well, so that we could open up opportunities for other people. Yeah. So employability is in the final week of the course, and we have Discover Work Partnership are going to be involved throughout the course and in the final week, which is great because, as Carol says, we've kind of looked at revamping the course, and it's probably a good time because we've not been delivering for the past 2 and a bit years to look at what we could do to improve it. So working with the Discover Work Partnership, I think, is going to really enhance the course. So team building, CV building workshops, interview skills with mock interviews, work ethics, employer-employee expectations, money budgeting and benefit awareness, which is, we can't tell them because that's not our skills, but it's great now that we've got the partnership in to deliver that, and they will be working throughout and coming in to hear about the students' experience on placement as well. So Michelle's keen to be involved, so we're really happy to have Michelle and the rest of the team involved in the course. We do ask people, and it's a requirement, to be part of the PVG scheme. So that's the protection of vulnerable groups, for people that are not aware of that. If people are already a member, then we just do an update to the scheme. We're doing this presentation as if our information day, so that's why we've got some of the information there. So they would be required to provide identification, including, for some people it's quite difficult to get photographic evidence, but we do ask for that, and a note of 5 years addresses, and they look for things like month, year and postcode. So if you have got clients, it's about getting all that information beforehand so that they've got it. We also do an occupational health check, and that's to protect the student as well as their patients, to make sure if they're needing, if there's any additional needs that they may have, or there's certain things that they maybe are not allowed to do on placement. So we're guided by occupational health on that one, and we would just need a note of their previous history. We also realised that social media is a big thing nowadays, but we advise people not to put on social media when they're on placement and things like that, so that they're not divulging any information that shouldn't be. And we also ask them to sign a confidentiality sheet to say what they see in the placement stays in the placement. We realise it is a good way of sharing information as well, so that people do find out a lot of things through the social media.
Yeah, thanks, Jo. Okay, so what do you do at the end of the course? Well, really the guarantee interview with NHS, and that's for 6 months, as long as you're meeting the job specification, obviously, as well. The references from the Healthcare Academy is based on the performance, so that's looking at not only the college attitude and behaviour, but also when that person is out on placement as well. And as Joan was saying, there is a report that we do gather information, obviously, from supervisors and that's been supporting them in a practice setting as well. Also, Dundee and Angus College will require confirmation of the GET employment, so that's really important for us as well, just to keep an eye on what's happening and looking at the successes as well. And obviously we're looking for continued support as well from other partners as they go through their journey as well. We've got an interview session that is now booked. It's Thursday the 19th of January 2023, and that's going to be at Dundee and Angus College in the Lecture Theatre in Gerdine campus. What happens then, you complete and bring your pro forma and your contact sheet for the interview, and after the successful interview you'll be contacted by ourselves and offered a place in the course. As Joan was saying, this is for the actual your clients as well when they come on the day, and obviously it's about confirming that you're accepting, the person's accepting their place on the actual programme as well. And if they're successful, after the interview as well, they'll attend the Job Centre Plus offices in the Wellgate on Monday the 23rd of January, and they'll be completing the PVG, which is online, isn't it? Yeah, the PVG is online, and any occupational health form as well. I think that's really important because we have a lot of students that you know, have to find out what is their past, you know, vaccinations, for instance. So they might have to, your job might be to kind of keep them, you know, on track and say, have you spoken to MD? Do you know what your vaccinations are? One of the ones that I don't know if they necessarily will do, but it's hepatitis B is one that we would definitely want, you know, an employee to have. But that's something if they're, you know, appointed, they would get. But tuberculosis, the BCG, you know, certainly if they're younger, that is probably something that they probably didn't get. And that might be something that occupational health will actually advise them to actually get that vaccination. I think that was the main ones, Joan,
Yeah,
isn't it?
occupational health will let us know, but they'll sometimes deem them fit for the course, but once they get a job, they then would have to get the immunisations
Yeah.
required for the job.
And obviously, if they're successful in gaining a place in the course, and they want feedback from an interview as well, then obviously contacting yourselves as well, if they're unsuccessful, I should say. So obviously, it's about, you know, what is it that went wrong, you know, what can we do better, and that's over to you guys to support them as well, for hopefully another time, another chance at it. It's a 6-week full-time course as well. So I think that's something, you know, recommending what Joan was saying about, you know, that 24/7, you know, the industry is shift work, you know, it is exhausting. So it's about thinking about your clients that, you know, have, you know, responsibilities, caring responsibilities as well. And it might not be for everybody. So it is full on. You know, they're in college for the first 2 weeks, and then it's which full days 9 till 4, and then they're out in a practice setting for the 4 days, and then 1 day back into college. So it is exhausting. They're usually really
Especially
done
when
in.
they're doing shift work, because they might be on like a late shift, which is maybe 1 to 9, and then the next morning at 7 or 7:30.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like you're not shutting off at that time. Your mind's still going, and then you're up early trying to get in. I think, like everybody, if you're anxious, you're up even earlier than you would be, because you're make sure you want to be in on time. You've got to get in, get changed, because they're not allowed to wear uniforms, so they've got to get changed into uniforms. So it's kind of getting into that routine as well, and making sure you get there using public transport if you have to. Even at Nine Wells, sometimes the parking could be an issue, trying to get parked before your shift. So everybody wants to make a good impression and wants to get there and do what they can and be part of the team, as Carol said. So yeah, it's I mean, 6 weeks, it's a lot. There, especially for people that maybe not been in employment for a long time, or they've maybe been looking after family or things like that. It's hard going for a lot of them, but I think they really enjoy it, and
They do.
I think the good part for us is hearing all their stories about when they've been out on placement. And I would have to say the last time the feedback, and I reported that back to our nursing director, is that everybody felt welcomed. There was not one person that said that they didn't feel welcomed, and the great opportunity to do the hands-on experience, which they've been prepared for.
Yeah, I think it was just great feedback, wasn't it? Which is really, really great success. So yeah, I think it's just really, you know, reminding them that it is going to be full on. They do the moving and handling. It's 2 full days at King's Cross Hospital, and that is exhausting as well. You know, a full day of first aid. So, you know, I think it's just trying to get them into that that mindset, I suppose, as well. If they aren't able to attend the college on the first day, you know, that is not to contact Dundee Angus College if they don't want to. I don't know what you. If you're unable to attend, do not contact.
If they don't turn up, then
Oh yeah, okay.
We're assuming that they're not wanting to participate in the course, and we do have a few reserves that will contact if someone, they might have got a job, or they might have decided it's not for them.
I take it they would contact Michelle then, wouldn't they? If they didn't, yeah, they would contact you, Michelle, then if they're not going to attend, just to let us know as well, and then we can get the reserve contacts from there as well. So some of the key dates then, the main interview day is Thursday the 19th of January at Dundee campus. Completion of PVG and occupational health forms as well, really important. And then they'll be attending for the 23rd of January as well. And then the course itself starts on the 6th of February and it finishes on the 17th of March as well. And that is
Joe. That was Joe. He was the first student, one of the first students in 2006. And he's still working at Kingsway Care. We did have a video, but unfortunately it's not working. So
And then just some of the other, they go to some of the labs as well. So they quite like donning the white coats and
Yeah.
getting into some of the labs and seeing what's going on.
What I normally do is go around when they're on placement and kind of just to see how they are and get a photograph of them as well while they're on placement. And then we use that for an award ceremony as a celebration.
And then I think that was the ambulance service we
Yeah.
had to visit. And then just sort of,
ceremony.
yeah, the graduation. And I think we've got blood science visit, haven't we?
Yeah, we're going to try and
organised.
get a visit to blood sciences,
Yeah.
just to let them get out for a wee bit.
Something different as well to see.
Yeah, we've got an information day, that's on the 17th, Carol, is that right? Information day for the Healthcare Academy, because the interviews are the 19th.
Uh-huh.
And I think the information day, if anybody wanted to come along, is
17th,
17th that's 11 o'clock
I think so.
at Garden.
Is that not on the
No,
slide?
I think because we would be delivering that at the
All
information.
right, okay, yeah.
But we'll get that out to Jane to let you know if anybody wanted to come along. Just it'd probably be the same presentation, but if you had any clients, it's kind of good if anybody wants to come along.
Cool. Has anybody got any questions? Happy to help. Yes, Jane.
Mentioned that if they're on shifts and you need to get in time, you need to get into the uniforms.
Yeah.
The uniform. That provides.
Yeah, the uniforms
Yeah.
provided. So we will provide them with white polo shirts, and it's the trousers that used in the hospital. So they will get a name badge and some polo shirts and trousers, and then they'll have to home launder them as well. Because we don't have a laundry now in Ninewell, so people have to launder their own. So, but we'll get them back when they're been finished from the course. We recycle them. So. Yeah. Sorry. Jane will answer that.
Yeah, in the past, historically, when we wanted to get on the Healthcare Academy, it was done through the job section. Now what we've done is that we want to open that to absolutely anybody, because the college now in the bullying aggregates of students, we can open that up to anybody. So that's why we wanted to deliver this presentation today, to give you the opportunity to start to see who you've got who might be interested. Job Centre are still very heavily involved in it, but it's like if anybody's interested, if you have any concerns, you can contact either myself or Andy. But yes, it's open.
And it would have to be over 18 because people can't work shift work after 8 o'clock at night or before 8 o'clock in the morning. So we stipulate that as 18 and over. And the PVG as well, we have to, I mean, it's not to say that if they have something on the PVG, but we'll have to look at what's on it. So if somebody has had something that's quite recent, if it's anything to do with children, if it's maybe an assault with a weapon, but it's not to say that if they have something on it that they're not going to get on the course. We'll look at each individual case. As I say, there's some things we just won't accept. And if there's too many is something as well, which we've had in the past. So, but we don't want to, we would rather people, we would open it up front with people beforehand and said, well, it wouldn't be possible, rather than somebody getting their hopes up that they're going to get on the course.
That's sometimes what's important about all information. If they do have a concern about anything, they can speak to the Healthcare Academy team, and just explain what the history is. And then it's, as Joe was saying, it's not a no. It's, well, let's look at what we do, let's take on anything that, you know, if it's something you can engage with, it's your right to run. It's to make that final decision, but it's not a no. But again, if you've any concerns, even before the information, we can speak to Joe or Andy.
It's the 17th.
17th,
Yeah.
17th of January.
We'll both send all that information.
There's somebody, yeah, Jackie.
most big employers for certain use.
Yeah, we do have, it would, I think probably Michelle's input would be to help with, we have a, our
Yeah, there's a CV that's nicely describe the skills that are required in our employers. So we need to match up your skills. Yes.
the NHS doesn't accept CVs either. It has to be an application form. So, but I think it's as Michelle says, it's to leave. People might finish the course and not want to come to the NHS and might want to go. So it's kind of just to cover all options. But they will go through the application process for the NHS.
Because that's the issue, issue doesn't match the shortlist of things we do, so we're making a fantastic person job. Us meet that shortlist and so that one shot letter from Michelle, we'll see if we can fit that in.
It wasn't like
Sorry?
it wasn't like the applications because we all on the NHS employability training. And I went through like STAR and person spec.
Yeah, that's right.
application as well, so
Yeah, it was included, yeah. We also included the nurse bank as well for people who wanted to do sessional work. So we had the nurse bank come in as well, because some people might prefer just not to have a contract, but work on the nurse bank. So we've actually got a few people signed up for the nurse bank.
in English, because there's quite a lot of UK clients was in London. So obviously, like I'm assuming it's more to kind of English for these roles. But it might be an idea, obviously I've got quite a lot of UK name guests or with hotels, but to filter this down. And the hotels like information sessions or something, there's a lot of potential there. People that have worked in healthcare, social care, you know, that are not using their potential here. There could be a possibility to fill gaps.
I don't know what your response from the NHS about.
I think they would have to have a good level of, just because of the client group they're dealing with.
And the care lines that they'd have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, qualified
Yeah.
staff, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I mentioned earlier is that we're actually recording this section, because obviously there's only a limited amount of people that are able to do. So we have recorded this session and we will be putting it out across the wider Discover Work Partnership, so that everyone gets the opportunity to see this, and there'll be contact details on that as well, so that if anyone has questions from that and direct them to get in.
Yeah. Yeah, they get, if they successfully complete, they will get access to the entry level posts within NHS. They have to meet the job spec and successfully complete, yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Full-time.
No, it's
They're
part-time
different.
roles, because there's, I mean, roles within the NHS, they range from kind of like 10 hours right through to full-time, which is 37.5 hours. And people can complete it's a full-time course, but at the end of the course, it's really up to them if it's a part-time job that suits them or a full-time, whatever. Yeah, so there's lots of opportunities within the NHS. Yeah, Job Train, it's called, the Job Train site. Yeah, that's okay.
the shift work. That changed or that was changed. Department for the time and we've come on to post with the shifts. That does happen quite a bit.
That would be in the Health and Social Care
The
Academy
academy.
course, so that's different from, that was a longer SVQ course, so this is just a
Yeah.
6-week course, so
Was
that
that
was
the
a,
full time?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah.
that,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not
we're
providing
not-
that at
yeah.
the moment. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I know. So lone working, I mean, there would always be somebody there, there'd be supervised. I mean, the shifts will happen. I think there's a bit of negotiation though, isn't there, within, when they go on to placement, isn't there?
Yeah, but can't,
You know,
I mean,
there is.
we couldn't
Yeah.
make somebody, they couldn't do it, so we are kind of flexible
Mhm.
because it is, they're only getting benefits when they're on the course, so it's voluntary, but it's really to let them see what it's like, because if they're job ready, it's really to let them see if they took a job, if they'd be able to cope with it or not, so. And people maybe finish the course and find that they can't do shift work and they maybe have to look for something else. But it's giving them an opportunity in quite a safe environment to try it and see if it's going to work for them or not.
I mean, they do have clinics that are 9 to 5, but
Yeah,
they
these
don't
jobs,
often come
people-
up. And the
people
people like
take
to
these
stay.
jobs, yeah.
So they don't come up often. Mhm.
Do they continue to work a buck or two whilst they're doing that training, or what happens there?
There's different opportunities. I mean, there's different ways if people want to go on to do their nursing. So there is opportunities, and there's now new opportunities within the NHS for people that were band 2s, and Carol could probably tell you more about, there's opportunities now for people to move on to band 3 and band 4s, and that's the what would you say is that's
Pathways.
the levels that we
Yeah.
work as bandings in the NHS. So you would start at a 2.
Work your
And-
way up to a 4.
Yeah, but now there's new
Yeah,
Carol's working
yeah.
with the
Yeah, working with the
NHS.
NHS. So there is a really distinct, they never had that progression. So now they're really looking for the 2s to a 3 to a 4. And then a band 5 is a staff nurse.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, there's
yeah,
increments
yeah.
as you go on your journey. Obviously, we want to do, you know, obviously become a staff nurse, but then we've got an HNC program that's support, and we've had, you know, healthcare
Yeah.
academies that have come on and now qualified. So there is, you know, lots of areas,
Career
different,
progression
definitely
and,
career
and I think it's
progression,
changing for the better now.
Yeah,
So
oh
that
yeah,
it's given. Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And also if the work shifts, they obviously get shift allowance. So if they're working maybe a back shift or a night shift, their salary will be more than the basic salary or the work weekends.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I'm going to be really honest with you. I haven't done a presentation because I've been on annual leave and I came to this discussion quite late on. So bear with me as I ramble through some of my facts and figures and what we're doing in Care at Home. So I'll introduce myself. I'm David Phillips. I'm the Integrated Manager for the Care at Home Services. I brought some of my team with me today because we're here all day. So if you want to do some Q&A after, you're more than welcome to approach us. I'll introduce Lisa Bowring. So Lisa is our team manager for Housing with Care and our mainstream citywide Care at Home service. We have Tracy O'Hare, who is our team manager for our social care response team, as well as our telecare installation and assessment team, and also the community meal service that operates in Dundee. And we've got Scott Kennedy, who manages the telecare assessment installation team also. So I'm not going to highlight some of the main challenges because Andy's presentation was quite in depth around that, so I urge you to kind of have a look at that. But Andy's right in some respects. There's 170,000 vacancies in the social care sector, which is a huge amount. Specifically in Dundee, we've seen a 52% rise in vacancies in care at home, which is quite a profound amount. Some of the reasons, you know, you'll already know. You know, COVID pandemic did not help our situation because, you know, care staff were out in all hours, 24 hours a day in some respects. And also, you know, the COVID pandemic kind of shone a light on services that people were shying away from, I suppose, in some respects, because it was very challenging. While the rest of the world was in lockdowns and not working and redeployed into other roles, the care teams were still out there delivering care. But to some people that put them off. Why put yourself out there and be in a challenging, demanding role when you've got to protect yourself and your families? So we saw a sharp decline in the amount of people that were applying for our roles. Social care staff as a whole, one of the main factors is around the cost of living. People think this job isn't well paid. There's other jobs out there, as you probably all know, that are probably better paid. And as part of the partnership, we have looked at our terms and conditions. We've looked at our hourly rates, and we're obviously a fair working employer. So we've put some practices in that I'll tell you later around the sort of monetary side. Obviously, the roles and responsibilities in care at home are very vast, and again, that can support people into employment, it can retain people into employment, it can also put people off. So we're looking at our skill set and our job roles. Talking about the service as a whole, we have many different services. So we have the enablement and support team. So right now there's vacancies that are online around those roles. So they're social care worker roles, and they support people with a statutory assessment of need. So someone's got an indication they have some care and support needs, but what actually is that? So they'll do an assessment for 6 weeks, and it's a rapid and responsive assessment. They'll look at all aspects of independent living, and then they will form a review at the end of it to determine what the person needs. From that service, then, people can have different pathways. So one of my other services is the external providers in Dundee. So there's 22 external providers of care that I work in with and manage along with my team. So we support them, and they also have their own vacancies and recruitment challenges as well. The mainstream citywide care at home team is there to support people after their assessment of needs. So they're needing a long-term package of care, and they will be supported in some respects for 3-4 months, whatever their assessment indicates, or all the way up to end of life care. So their whole journey. The housing and care team sits in with that team, and that belongs to Lisa's sort of area of responsibility. And that's people who have a housing need, but they also have care needs. So it's a housing and a care and support package that is delivered to them in a housing complex. We also have the social care response team. Now, a lot of people know that as community alarm. It rebranded a number of years ago, but the social care response team deals with kind of high profile emergencies such as falls, fires, no responses, which means people don't know, the call handlers won't know if someone's injured or they're needing some sort of support. So it's a 24-hour team, 365 days a year. So they operate every minute of the day. Very demanding role. There's 34,000 calls for support in Dundee over the course of an average month. So there's a lot of people in care, needing care and support needs. And as Andy alluded to, the demographics are changing. So we're seeing more people with high-end complex needs, which brings about challenges in terms of staff provision, because people need more care than they ever needed before. So we have those teams. We also have the telecare assessment installation team. That is a sort of a newer team that looks at technology-enabled care aspects. So it's quite an exciting team because they go out and they assess people for technology that could be in their house to support them with independent living tasks. So that's just a wee flavour of some of the teams that we have and the vacancies that we have. Obviously, looking at our retention as a whole and our recruitment, we are looking to redesign our pathways. So we're looking at new ways to get people into our services. So we have Lisa, who's taking the lead for care at home on recruitment. So Lisa advertised all our posts. We look at a rapid and responsive shortlisting process. So we're basically looking at every application on a sort of a Monday each week, and we rapidly respond to that. If someone meets the shortlisting criteria, we're interviewing people that same week. And that's to try and speed things up, because our recruitment team of old haven't been the quickest and most responsive. So we've taken the lead on that from care at home to try and progress that further. We also look at the retention part, because although we're getting people applying for jobs, are we actually keeping them in jobs? So, people are coming into our service, and we've got some really good examples of things that have worked well. And we're looking to branch out and make sure that's embedded going forward in our culture. So we look at a really detailed induction for candidates. It covers all aspects. And as Carol and Joan alluded to, it is a personal care heavy role. So it's intimate personal care. We're also trying to add other skill sets into that because we're redesigning our pathways to include more tasks related to independent living to give people a bit of variety. So that's where the enablement team sits in terms of the assessment criteria. We're also looking at bespoke training. So we have a community mental health team, which is embedded into the enablement and support team. So we look at bespoke training for people around dementia. We also look at palliative care, challenging behaviour, because some of those teams are very demanding, challenging roles. So how do we support teams to actually stay with us? So we need to develop the training pathways for them. We also have care planning and skills that we look for in terms of written skills, because people are responsible in these posts to write care plans for people. So as part of that assessment of need and the statutory assessment, people are required to kind of write detailed care plans along with their social care organisers to capture the needs and assessment of the individuals. Obviously, in terms of other supportive aspects, as Joan and Carol alluded to as well, supervision and one-to-ones with the management team happens very regularly, especially for a new start. There's also team meetings, there's team bonding as well, because they're going to be part of large teams, but each team is embedded into a locality area. So people have the opportunity to get to know their team members, but that support from the manager in terms of the one-to-one also supports that. We also look at reflective practice and resiliency. Again, because it is a demanding role, we look at skills that can capture and support people to work with the service users independently. So things like challenging behaviour training, but also looking at courageous conversations training. So sometimes staff members out there have to have these courageous conversations. Also looking at personal safety and conflict management to make sure the staff are safe in any challenging behaviour situation. So we use a variety of different skills in terms of the induction side. Now, we have a lot of jobs that are on our sites just now that are vacant. We've got lots of job descriptions with us, so we're happy to hand them out for you guys to have a look at as well and pass out as you see fit. Majority of our jobs are on My Job Scotland, but they're also in other sites as well, but predominantly we use My Job Scotland, and that's where the bulk of the partnership vacancies for social care sit. Looking at some of the essential criteria we look for, and again, as Joan and Carol alluded to, the SVQ2 is an essential requirement for our posts, but we support people through that. We don't look for any formal care experience, but we look for aspects that we probably all would have in different jobs, such as team working, communication, collaboration, problem solving. We have a lot of success stories, and I brought these guys with me because of this, because we all started out, including myself, as care workers. So there is a lot of career development opportunities with the partnership. Lisa, for example, Lisa did not have a background in social care. Lisa came to this role 10 years ago and 15 years ago, sorry, God, time flies. But Lisa's background was nothing to do with social care. She had a complete career change and she's excelled herself to the point where she became a social care organiser, which is a management entry-level position where you're managing care teams. Then she progressed over to the team manager role, which is currently in. So that's a really good success story. Tracy as well. Tracy started off in the enablement support teams as a care worker way back. I'll probably not mention the date, but it was a long time ago. Tracy progressed from a care worker to a social care organiser into a team manager role. We have Scott, who is ex-frontline worker. So he started off delivering the hands-on personal care and support to individuals in their own home. And he has now progressed into, you were a temporary social care organiser for a while, but now you're moved into a permanent social care organiser role, managing the telecare installation team. And myself, I started off as a entry-level care worker, and it horrifies me to say, but I think I was earning about £12,000 back 20 years ago. And I've progressed from a care worker to a senior care worker to a social care organiser to a team manager to now the integrated manager of the care at home services. So that just gives you a flavour of the career development paths that we offer. We don't expect our care workers to always stay care workers. We want to lead by example and provide career opportunities for them. Some of the other skills we look for then, we do look for some indication of what care means to you as a person. So we don't ask people to have that formal care experience, but what are the care values that you have that you can bring to our organisation? We also look for good communication in written and oral skills, because that is hand in hand. We've got a lot of service users who have cognitive impairments, dementia, challenging behaviour, and communication is paramount for them. But we also need to support the care planning part, which is written skills. But we provide some of that support in our inductions and ongoing support from the managers that are embedded into the teams. As Tracy highlighted around lone working earlier, we do have a lot of lone working. So, staff are trained to a certain level. The expectation is they'll go out and deliver that hands-on care, and they will be supported to do so, but there is an element of responsibility. We have lots of support mechanisms in place, and as we alluded, some of the teams are 24 hours a day, but there's people that are on an out of hours basis available to be contacted, so that there's support 24 hours a day for these team members. We look for sensitivity. A lot of people, especially in Dundee, there's lots of areas of demographic areas of instability. There's a lot of areas where the demographical parts of it are quite extreme. There's lots of poverty. There's areas where there's a lot of build-up of older adults. So I think years back, the plan in Dundee was there would be sort of core areas of complexes. So there's 32 social care complexes around Dundee. So there's clusters of people that are in those areas with high dependency needs. So that model doesn't work, unfortunately, because some of the housing with care stuff does, but it's a citywide team we operate. So we are a needs-led service. So we go where the needs are rather than where the people are in some respects. And that provides an equitable support to everybody in Dundee rather than just locality-based models. We also look for, PVG checks, obviously, and we are a supportive employer. We do appreciate that people have sometimes things that have happened in the past, but we obviously have to risk manage some of that and make sure that the person's able to be in a role of this responsibility. But we don't turn people away on the basis of you have something that's on a record from X amount of years ago. We always have a supportive discussion about it and see what we can do to bring that person into the world of social care. There's obviously a lot of safety aspects as well we have to consider, but we are very much a supportive employer that way. Non-judgmental is an area that we need people to be fully embracing of, because we all, especially in our our own lives, we can all be very judgmental at some points. But when we're dealing with client groups that are very vulnerable, high-end complex needs that are reliant on the care, we ask people to be non-judgmental. A lot of these are essential requirements, but we're not looking for people to demonstrate each individual part of this and say, this is why I'm non-judgmental. It's a kind of total package we're looking for. We can't have an employee who's good at every single area, so we will support them beyond the application and interview stage if they're successful to develop some of these skills. We are looking at our kind of services as a whole. We've redesigned our pathways to be more preventative rather than just reactive. So we're looking at a lot of tests of change recently around terms and conditions. So it'll horrify you to know that a lot of our social care providers, some of them don't pay for the full shift that people are working. So as part of the partnership, we need to step up and actually make sure that people are doing that. So providers of care. So we're looking at a model where all the providers pay on shift to make sure the person's role is paid fully for them. So if you start at 7 o'clock and finish at 1, you'll be paid for that full shift. The previous models were if you had 2 people that cancelled, or one was visiting a daughter, or one ended up in hospital temporarily, the care worker wouldn't be paid for that. Now, the partnership side, we don't follow that model. We pay for the planned full salary of your shift. However, we need to support our providers in the sort of private sector areas and the third sector to follow suit. So we've invested quite a lot of money into that. So they have the ability to recruit and retain people that want to work for the care provider provision, but possibly not just with the partnership, because there's many providers out there that do this. So going forward, that will hopefully help recruitment and retention for the providers, and also offer the staff that are currently in those services a reason to stay, because why would you stay if you're not getting paid the full shift? I know I wouldn't turn up to work and do a full day and only get half pay. That just isn't a model that's sustainable with the cost of living that we're in just now. What we're not good at social media. Dundee City Council and the partnership are not great with social media. We always shy away from it because, as Joan and Carol alluded to, we usually tell people don't put where you work. But there's a lot of ad campaigns on Facebook, Instagram that we don't tap into. So we're working on a supportive model through our recruitment team to look at social media opportunities to link in with the general public, all you guys, so they could be shared around all these social media platforms without the fear of someone's going to comment and there's going to be something untoward on it, because we always do worry about that. So we're going to be embracing social media platforms more going forward. We are working on staff testimonials. So what does it mean to be a care worker? As I've highlighted the success stories for all of us that are here today, we need to capture some of that. Tell people that this isn't just an entry-level care job. This could be a career. Look at all the positives, but don't shy away from the challenges, because we don't want to set that false pretense that this is an easy job, because it's not. So we're working on staff testimonials, and they'll hopefully be videoed and available to be shared on social media very soon, hopefully. We're also looking at our shortlisting process. So we're reaching out to people, employers, people who have got vacancies, to say, have a discussion about our shortlisting process, because each employer is different. And the partnership, we look for certain items to be discussed. So if there's a person spec and it's got an essential criteria, we usually look for some indication of, you know, how is that person's communication. So talk about examples of your communication. But sometimes we get applications through that haven't met some of the essential criteria, which presents an issue, because we think maybe they've got some of the skills we're looking for, but we don't get the true reflection or true picture. So we're happy to discuss with anybody around shortlisting. If you want us to join a Teams call in person, we'll talk you through how we shortlist, what we look for, because it might be easier for candidates going forward. We're also looking at, I had a very brief conversation with Jackie, but we're looking at modern apprentices, because it was a model that worked previously. We tried it recently before I was in post and with a different team, and it didn't quite work out. But there is something in that. There is, how do we get younger people into social care? And this could be an opportunity for us to actually try to make some inroads and pathways into the modern apprentice world. So we're looking at that. We're also looking at speaking to practitioners about our vacancies. So how do we let you guys know there is vacancies, where they're advertised, what sort of jobs they entail. So as I say, we've got person specs and job descriptions with us that the team can pass out. But what does it mean to a service user? Because although there's recruitment challenges and there is a huge issue in terms of capacity and demand, our service users are generally quite happy with the partnership provision. So 98% of our service users who were surveyed said that they feel the partnership treats them with dignity, respect at all visits. And 97% of service users, now bearing in mind we have around 8,000 service users, so it's quite a high number, 97% of them said that the partnership supported them to reach their outcomes and maintain their independence to some level. So that's quite profound, and that's the good bits we want to capture. It is a very challenging job. It does involve personal care, but we're also looking at tasks that are not related to personal care. So we're looking at things such as kitchen rehab. So to me and you, that would be making a cup of tea, putting some toast on, putting something in the oven. Some of our service users are unable to do that without assistance. So we're looking at upskilling our staff to do some of those tasks. One of my other teams is a physio, an OT-based team, so an occupational therapist and physio. So they're going to go out and do functional assessments on some of our service users and provide meaningful feedback to the care staff to then work with them. And it could be stuff like mobility, falls prevention, stair practice. You'd be amazed at how many people can't navigate up and down their stairs in their own house, and they're confined to one place downstairs, such as a living room. So we're working on kind of upskilling the staff team, and we hope that some of those tasks that will make their job a little bit varied instead of the normal personal care, because the personal care calls are, you know, the demand outstrips capacity, as we know. So we're looking to look at preventative supports instead of the reactive supports that we currently offer. So that just gives you an overview of kind of the services, what we're doing about recruitment, and some of the opportunities available. I appreciate there's no slides, but if we do this event again, there will be slides. We'll make sure of it. We'll be a bit more prepared. So I'm just going to offer it out to questions. Does anybody have any questions for us? Jackie, oh, sorry. You've got your hand up. Hi, Laura. That's 9 miles who do that, unfortunately. We do have some examples of supporting people with transport needs, etc. You know, we'll set up taxi accounts for people if someone's, you know, for example, in the housing with care and they need someone to phone on their behalf. But yes, patient transport normally happens through the hospital setting. We also have our one of our charity-based organisations, the British Red Cross. They do a transport service to and from hospital, to clubs, to someone's just wanting to go to someone's house to go and visit friends and do some sort of social aspects. But yeah, we don't unfortunately do that part. Jackie, you had your hand up. Sorry, I missed the tail end. I couldn't quite hear you there. National Care Service. Yeah, so obviously National Care Service, right now we're in the Health and Social Care Partnership. The National Care Service is a Scottish national objective to basically restructure the social care pathways and define them. So right now we all work across the partnership level, which works in theory. So it should be that somebody has the same support out of hospital to home to the end of their life journey. So the National Care Service, although there's some details that we're still waiting on, is to basically look at that Scottish government-led approach rather than the local authority-led approach. So it'll be run by ministers who are accountable for social care, rather than it being diluted out in terms of it's a local authority issue, it's a local authority funding issue, whereas it'll be more nationalised to work on an equitable basis. Because what we find is that I have colleagues in Perth, colleagues in Angus, colleagues in Aberdeen, and the rates of pay are all different, the approaches are all different, so it'll be a nationalised approach to social care to try and solve some of these really wicked issues that have been presenting themselves, because the tap hasn't gone off. There's more care being delivered, there's more demand for care, so it's trying to look at a new approach. I think it's a good thing. I think it's probably a long time coming. There's a lot of unknowns, but I think for our workforce, it'll provide a real level of standard training, because again, we could start a training course in Dundee, but our partners in Perth don't follow suit. So we're providing bespoke training, but they're not. So it actually nationalises the training and support, the expectations for service users. It should be a consistent approach throughout, which I do agree with. I think we're all very diluted in terms of our approaches, and what works for one doesn't always work for all. However, I think there's probably a good scope to get conversations started on it. Well, I hope that answers your question. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Any other questions? Yes, hi. So in Dundee at this specific moment, we have 412 vacant posts. So that is the partnership posts, but also all our external providers. So in the partnership, we have about 70, roughly, I can't remember the exact figure from today, but roughly about 70 posts. 40 of those posts are new monies. So the Scottish Government supported us with monies to bring in additional care and support staff, which is problematic because the recruitment is slowed up a little bit. So hence the reason why we're kind of networking, trying to get people on board. But yeah, there's 412 vacancies in Dundee for all the external providers and the internal partnerships. So it's quite a profound number. If you've got 412 people missing from teams, that's a lot of care and support hours and support that could be given to people in their own homes. So we're in a bit of a deficit, but yeah, 412. Nationally, of course, Andy alluded, it's 170,000. In Dundee specifically, it's a 52% decline in people applying for care jobs. So it's a profound amount.
So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Kerry. Kerry has came from SSC, because I'm not going to say that again. I think I got tongue-tied the last time. And Kerry has got a very key role in that she works with a lot of partners, Scottish Government, to look at how we can promote care as a sector and make sure that people are interested in coming into care and providing tools and opportunities for us to speak to our clients and customers to encourage them. So I'm going to get Kerry to come up and she's going to do our presentation and then it will be open to questions at the end. So thanks, Kerry.
Hello, I don't know if this microphone's on.
It's not very
I'll just speak slightly louder. I think this is the first time I've been in front of real people for a couple of years. Do most of my events online, so hopefully this goes okay. I am from the SSC, or the Scottish Social Services Council. We just have to say that once and then we can say SSC, so that's fine. We're based in Dundee, so if you know the big building across from Tesco at Riverside, we've got SSC and the Care Inspectorate, which is our sort of sister organisation. Maybe more of a cousin nowadays, but we're still quite close. We have a national remit though. So I think we were in 2001, sort of one of the first sort of Scottish new public bodies, and it was sort of decentralisation. So don't put everything in Edinburgh. So we've got it in Dundee, which I think's great for today because it meant I could just pop over and join this wonderful event. So thank you to Jane for organising this. And I should say that this is also, I owe Jane and her colleagues, Carol and Erin, who very kindly presented at one of my events recently. But I said that's not the reason I'm here. I'm here just because I thought it was fabulous that you've brought together so many people from different types of employment support organisations, and I get to speak to you at once. I thought that was a lovely collaborative thing to do. And to hopefully show you some interesting things that we're doing at the SSC to support you, and to also make sure that you've got access to information from employers about what they're looking for, so that, and hopefully encourage some more connections, although I know that there are some great connections already in Dundee. I don't want to bore you with information about SSC. If you might know us already, it's possible we've had some social care workers or social workers in here who've perhaps registered with us. I was meeting Jackie earlier, who works with modern apprenticeship, so of course you will know all about us from our role in the modern apprenticeship frameworks. We operate the register for social service workers. So we have around 170,000 people on our register. It goes up and down all the time, so I never know the exact number. But the vast majority of people working in early years services, social work services, and care services, so adult care services, but also all types of care at home services. There's a small number for children, and residential childcare. So there's a big range of careers. If that surprises you in any way, that there are so many careers, have a look at that website, which is careersincare.scot. That's a website that we operate, although it was created with a range of partners. It includes lots of different stories about people working in the sector, but it also has a sort of one source of truth about qualification pathways. So if that's something that confuses people or there's different messaging, just have a look at that website. You do get time, of course, in any social care role to complete a qualification in work. And we do know from our register that most people join the register without a qualification. So there, you've heard it from me. You don't need qualifications to work in social care. You might with some organisations, and it's up to them to ask for that, but it's not something that SSC requires. We do want you to be in practice, developing knowledge, taking part in your induction, your learning, and then you will be supported by your employer to access an SVQ. So what a wonderful message for people who are not sure about which career to have, or maybe starting a career for the first time in quite a while. You're entering a career with a career pathway. You'll be a registered professional. You'll be taking part in continuous professional learning, and your employer will support you. And that's in your codes of practice, which are for yourselves, and they're also for your employer. They've got two parts. So you can request a copy from us if you don't have those. Great thing to show people. The SSC has other roles. So we have a fitness to practice function, as all regulators do. So if we think that somebody has behaved in a certain way, and we don't think it can be remedied by learning and development, which often it can be, or often it's just a mistake that an employer can manage. But if there's a behaviour that somebody should not be working in the sector, we can investigate. And we do hold panels in our Dundee office, or sometimes virtually. So we can remove people from the register. We can prevent people from working. So that's a really key role in protecting the public. It's what we were set up to do just after devolution. And what else will I say? I know that I met Andy earlier and you heard all about the context of social care today, social services, you heard some data. We are an official statistics provider. So we've got a data website, as well as a careers website. We've got lots of different things. We also have a learning zone where you can access lots of free learning materials. So I'll make sure that you get the links to those afterwards. Because I'm not going to speak about all that. I'm going to speak just about employability, which is something that we've been doing a bit more over the last couple of years. So I've been working on the careers website for maybe 4 or 5 years. I've been involved in dementia learning and also qualifications, and then most recently career pathways. And then even more recently was employment support and learning all about your vast sector, which was a massive surprise to me, but really great to learn about all the great work that's going on. And for me, I just wanted to make sure that we were telling employers all about what you do, but also making sure that we could help get the employer voice to you. What I heard originally, because I work with employers quite a lot and membership organisations for employers, there was a bit of mistrust, not with local employability partnerships per se. I suppose that's a fairly new development, but maybe the old style of things where maybe work coaches and people being pressured into applying for care roles because there were so many vacancies. And some employers told me that they didn't really get good outcomes when they engaged with maybe the Job Centre Plus. It's not to name any particular organisation, but it's just a culture where maybe people, if it's less person-centred and people are encouraged to apply for roles like care because there are vacancies, employers had developed maybe over the years a little bit of uncertainty about whether that's the right approach for them. But there's great strategy at the moment. No one left behind, person-centred approach, that all fits very well with social care employers. So it's our role to raise awareness. I don't need to tell you about this, you know what that's about. That's something that I've been sharing much more with employers and also basing our work around so that we have a sort of common framework to use. So our engagement is our careers website and lots of different things that we're doing to reach out to different audiences. I've just come from a live event for secondary schools. We're doing our first social care careers week, which I think prompted Jane, to organise the event on this day, which was brilliant. Barrier removal is massive in social care, even if it's just around myths and misconceptions, because actually there aren't very many barriers. People think maybe I've got a previous conviction, so that's it, I can't do it. Or not enough money. Lots of different reasons. Maybe English is your second or your third language. So it's really key for us to be giving clear information. Vocational activity. So I'm going to show you what we've been developing in line with that to hopefully support you. Job matching and in-work support. So job matching, we have various resources that we can support you with. We've got a safer recruitment guide that we publish. It was last published in 2016, but it'll be republished next year, which will have all your answers in terms of, what are employers going to ask, what's in an application form, what does a SSC need to know, how do I support somebody with previous convictions or disabilities. So that's all going to be in that guide. So SSC has a broad remit here, which I hope is going to be helpful. And in-work support, we've just published an induction framework, and I'll make sure you get the link to that as well, so that if you're working with people and you're doing some of the in-work support, so you're staying in contact, as I know that lots of providers do, in the initial stages to help them kind of be retained early on, so it's not too overwhelming. There's an induction framework that you can maybe work through with them, and it's sort of self-led, looking at different topics. So it's right across the sort of pipeline there that we're hoping to support you. And also, as I said, bring into the employer what they're asking us for. And we bake that into our products, basically. So we have an employability group. So I'd mentioned that Jane's colleagues came and presented, and that went really, really well, talking about what's going on in Dundee. So that's an employment support group that meets every month to talk just about careers and care. It's chaired by SSC and Scottish Government. We've got lots of different partners from local employability partnerships. We've got NHS education, care providers, charities, and the DWP as well. So it's really collaborative, and we share information and we share case studies, and we try and gather up all the learning to put into some products that we hope will be useful across Scotland. These are the sorts of core elements that we settled on, that we think employment support providers and employers working in partnership need to focus on when supporting people to consider a career in care and then have a supportive route into a career in care. So I'd be interested to get your thoughts on this actually, and questions at any time about where you think the gaps or the opportunities might be. But I think it's fair to say we need to promote the career much better. It needs to be much clearer what the role is and what it's not. So that's certainly, as I've mentioned, the careers website's there for you. And please have a look at that. And if you're working one-to-one with people, look at some of the videos. There's lots of inspiring material and career stories from people from all walks of life. Values-based self-reflection. So that's quite a big concept, but it's about making sure people with the right values are encouraged to apply, and that you're not encouraging people with the wrong values. And we have values-based tools to support that. Self-reflection, and everything in care is about self-reflection from the beginning of, is this the right thing for me? Am I going to be able to help somebody with personal care? Is that going to be too much for me? Am I going to be reliable? Am I going to be able to do the shift work? There's lots of elements that people can be encouraged to reflect on before they make that application, before they have a bad experience that sets them back. And also reflection is a key skill that is in the SVQ qualification that you'll be asked to reflect on every module. Codes of practice and SSC registration, that people know about that. You have to register within 6 months of starting your post. So that's normally fine, and your employer will tell you about that. Where it might get held up is if you have previous convictions and you've left it to the last minute to apply, and SSC needs to look at those. It can delay your registration and it can get a bit sticky. So if you're working with people and you think that might be an issue, just get them to apply as early as possible. And SSC has an open mind. We look at that and we look at what the employer is saying. So it's not an extra punishment at all. It's just that check that we need to do for public safety. Sometimes we might say, can you provide a reflective account about that conviction to reassure us that that's in the past and you're currently fit to practice. Regulated work in the disclosure process. So again, it's around convictions, what you do need to disclose, what you don't need to disclose. All roles in care are likely to either have a standard disclosure or a PVG. It's probably rare that you're going to meet somebody in a care role that's not going to need that level. And with higher level disclosures, you will have to disclose some unspent convictions according to rules. So there's information there that we think that could be clearer. And I don't know if you've experienced that, whether it's clear or not, but we're working on that. Digital skills, I'll show you some digital information that we've got. Recording, reflecting and learning, a key skill to pick up right from the beginning, because you'll be asked to do it in every piece of training. So you might as well get into the practice of doing it. Authentic experience, so whether that's a work placement, we know they're quite difficult sometimes to arrange depending on how often the person's available, which employers you're working with, and COVID just wiped out most work placements for most people, so we can't rely on those. But it could be online sessions with care workers, which we've just been doing with schools, streaming care workers straight to people. Application and interviews, I've mentioned the Safer Recruitment Guide, so that will be out next year. The 2016 version is still available, so you can get the link to that one, but there's been a couple of updates. And in-work support, so we're keen to link all of this to our induction framework, so there's a pathway, so that you're not just left hanging when you start your role, but then you understand that, okay, I'm going to do my induction, I'm going to register with SSC. And at some point I'm going to either do my modern apprenticeship or I'm going to do my SVQ, so there's a pathway. I'm really keen to promote that. Is there any questions or comments about those? Do they sound like fairly useful elements for you? I suppose you'll cover some of those with other careers as well, but we just want to give you a sense of what care employers would like you to cover. And so the employability group that I mentioned and all the work that we've been doing, it's kind of culminated in 2 products that I'm going to talk to you about. Careers and care learning resources. So we're developing some free learning resources that will be available in the new year. I keep saying the new year. That means January or February. And they'll be free and they'll be accessed from the careersandcare.scot website that I showed you at the beginning. It's a really easy to use website. It's got lots on it, but you'll be able to access those from there. People can do those on their mobile phones. It'll be designed sort of mobile phone friendly, but you can also do it in classes, groups, that's fine. And you don't have to rewrite any program that you've already done. It's to complement it. So if you've got stuff that you're already doing that's working well, just have a look through and see if there's anything that we've provided that you might want to add in. And we are going to be adding in 360 care services. So we've gone to a care home, care at home service and a nursery with a 360 camera and done some interactive scenes. So if nothing else, it might just be that's useful. So I'll talk to you a bit more about those, and also 10 Steps to a Career in Care, which is a new product specifically designed for work coaches, careers advisors, and employment support workers, which we've designed for you. So I hope you'll like the look of it so far and be keen to get your ideas and inspirations to help me finish it off. Okay, so I'll stand here. Probably a bit much like myself. And I put that picture there just to remind you that we're at the Social Services Council, so not just social care, it's all types of social services. So early year services, early learning and childcare, residential childcare. The great thing about that is if you speak about it that way, if somebody has a career in adult social care, and that is where it's the majority of the workforce, it's probably over 60%, that's where most of the vacancies are. And that's fine to be realistic, but if somebody wants to then move and work in a different type of service, their qualification will help them do that because there's flexibility of pathways. And again, you'll see that in the careers website. So it's just a nice wee reminder. Okay, so the first thing is our careers and care learning resources. They're linked to our My Learning app, so I'm going to show you that soon on the next slide. That's an app that I really encourage you to use if you're working with people who maybe need a bit of practice using digital skills or writing and reflecting, the elements that I showed earlier. There's an app for you to use, so you don't have to invent something. I'll show you that. And open badges as well, and they're digital certificates for, if you've done a piece of learning, we ask you to reflect on it, and you can gain an open badge. You need one email address and password to create an account, so it's quite easy, and it's the same account for both. And it's a bit difficult. I've got the app on my phone, so I'm free to show you it. That's where I keep my learning, actually. If I do a piece of training or something like that, I would just forget that I've actually been there. I might have the learning, but I've forgotten that I've actually been to the event. So I'll keep it in my app. And so I'm happy to show that to anybody. But you can get that for free on the Google Store or the iPhone Store. I mentioned career pathways. So I really encourage you when you're working with people to consider this career. It is a career pathway. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. We used to say things like have a lifelong career in care. You don't have to have a lifelong career. But if you get into it and you enjoy it, there's pathways and there's progression. Lots of people progress in work. So it's one of the only careers, I think, where you can start work in an entry-level role, qualify and become a manager without ever having to leave the office. And you'll get qualifications with that. Equally, you can go and do college or university. There's flexibility. And there's another plug for the careersandcare.scot. That website will tell you about that flexibility. And sorry again to pick on Jackie, who does the MAs, but you'll notice that these themes are in common with the SPQ core units. So there's an opportunity to help people learn some content that they will later recognise in their induction, but then also when they start their modern apprenticeship or their SPQ. So it's about staying safe and well. That's around safeguarding and the law that people in social care need to use and be aware of. Effective communication. It's lots of different things. It's not just verbal, it's body language and the way that you respect people and the way that you help people communicate their preferences. So it's probably the most important topic, even though it's second on the list, it's probably the most important skill in social care. And professional values, that's about reflective practice and what it's like to be a registered professional. What does that mean for me? And also the career opportunities. And then finally, it's about promoting rights and choices. And that's when you're, a really simple way of putting that is when you're going into social care and you're working with somebody, you're not there to help them. I mean, that's fine if they ask you for help with something, but you're there to be directed by them. It's a culture of self-directed support where people are in control of their support. And even if it's hard to imagine that somebody living in a care home who's maybe quite frail, an older person maybe living with dementia, people might have misconceptions and they might go, well, I just want to care for that person. I just want to make sure they're safe and happy. That's fine. But you need to use your communication skills to figure out what would help them have a good day. What do they want to do that day? What is it that's causing them pain? You need to be that sort of person who's going to be going in and being curious and respectful. And you're going to appreciate that everyone, no matter their kind of age or level of ability, will be able to have some element of control in their lives. So it's a big, really strong on sort of workplace culture and values and helping people understand that right from the very beginning. So hopefully when those come out, you'll have a look at those and maybe try them out with some individuals or some groups, and you can let us know how you get on with those. This is the My Learning app. So that's what it'll look like. It'll have a sort of tally of maybe the badges that you've got and the learning logs that you've got. Really simple interface, and there's a video there to watch as well, but I won't show you just now. It's been really, really popular with the workforce. So we've got thousands of users on that app. You can export your learning logs as well. So if you've got somebody that's preparing a CV, print that off, or you can attach it in an email, or even in an interview, say, I've got the app. This is the same app that social care workers use for registration to submit their record of continuous professional learning. So it's the same app. So it's a good point of recognition for employers, and maybe shows a bit of leadership of the person that they've done that. The next step then is the 10 steps to career and care. So this is the other product. It's also going to be available on the careersandcare.scot website. It's been designed for people like yourselves, but also with people like yourself. So we've listened a lot from the employment support sector to help us understand your role and what you do. And we've put it into this 10 steps. So really highly collaborative. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly take you through each of the sort of 5 parts of the employability pipeline. What I'd really love is if you have any comments or anything that you found difficult or that you found worked really well at this sort of stage, please let me know, because I'd love to get a bit of inspiration to go back, because it's just on its final push to finish it now. So this is the first stage, which is engaging. So what we want to do to support you at this stage is to give you some really good resources and guidance that actually focus on inspiring people, that, showing people it's realistic, but also it's interesting, it's exciting. You're going to learn lots of different things. So in this part of the 10 steps, we're going to have videos, we're going to have conversation tools. An organisation called Coalition of Care and Support Providers in Scotland, CCPS, they've done a series of myth-busting videos. So those key questions, what if I've got convictions, or what if I'm too young? They've done a great series of videos that are going to go in there. And then the values that I mentioned there, that's where we're going to put our values-based tools. So there's a whole package of information that you can go through even before somebody starts looking at jobs. This is very, very early on, just helping people understand it's not what you see about in the news. It's not all in crisis. Yeah, there are elements of crisis, but the sector's so much more than that. Any comments or ideas on that one for me to take away? Have you got videos, or have you got tools that you're using already to inspire people about care?
So much. Okay.
Yeah. Do you find it hard? Do people go, no? Yeah. I suppose.
We've all had conversations with people who we think would be great in career and care, but maybe there's stigma around it. Maybe they just don't believe that we can do it.
Yeah. I mean, I do this for a living, and every time I say to somebody, oh, you'd be great for a career care, they go, no. I think, oh, what is it? What is it that I need to do? So in that, we've got for younger people or people up to age 30, Princess Trust do some great videos. I'm not in that bracket anymore, sadly. So Princess Trust have got a really big emphasis on inspiring. So if you're working with younger people up to age 30, we know how hard it is sometimes when you're at that sort of age and you're struggling to get going in your career, you may be a bit directionless. Princess Trust, have a look at what they do. They also do online courses and in-person courses in partnership with employers, so we can contact them. They've got a base in Dundee, actually. So they're always keen to do partnership work. And we've got various videos to help. And there's a national recruitment campaign for adult social care at the moment, but that should be launching again sort of around about now, but I think sometimes people say they've not really seen it. So it's definitely a challenge. The next part then around assessment. So you've actually done something amazing. You've got somebody inspired and they're kind of interested and they might want to go a bit further. Sometimes interest can drop off if it's like, oh, well, actually I won't be able to do that, or oh, it looks too complicated, or I have to do all this first. And so that's the next stage. So how do we get that interest and convert it into action? You know, sometimes people might say, well, I want to be a support worker, but when you look at the role descriptions, it's maybe a bit too complex at that stage. So it's just to say, you can keep going, you can keep having the conversation, because there might be other roles, or there might be training opportunities. So if it's a career that you're interested in and you think long term it could be valuable for you, you know, even if it's hard at the beginning, there are options. And there are also things like ancillary roles in care services and catering, administration, and again, the Prince's Trust, for example, do courses to help people develop confidence. The strengths and barriers, that's going to have a range of issues. So I've mentioned convictions, but we're also doing a lot of work with the Scottish Refugee Council. So if you're working with refugees or asylum seekers as well. So in the case of refugees can apply for any role in Scotland. And there's some resources here. The learning resources, for example, would support refugees who are new to Scotland. They've never worked in a role in Scotland. The application process might be completely alien to the culture that they're used to. So there's lots of information kind of designed with them in mind. Asylum seekers, you might not know, but if an asylum seeker has been waiting on a claim for more than 12 months, they're able to apply for roles in the Scottish, or the shortage occupation list, which is part of the UK visa points-based system. So the interaction with that is asylum seekers can apply for roles on the shortage occupation list. Care worker is on the shortage occupation list at the moment. It might not be permanently, we're waiting on a decision, but there's certainly that group of people is on our mind as well in terms of.
Refugee contracts and we're currently working for. As well. Is there any, do you know, are you aware of any issues with disclosure with applications for previous addresses? Or are
That's a good question.
To go with the British address, like, you know, what they've been here for 6 months.
We're going to be putting out a statement soon about Ukrainian refugees. And so there'll be a statement specifically, and we're going to do a short web-based resource, which I hope will be available before Christmas, because I think it's really needed. That'll have. So the PVG disclosure requirements are going to have to be quite bespoke and specific for that group of people, because not only might it be difficult, but if a refugee has fled persecution, you don't contact their home country.
Yeah, this is
looking for
refugees that went from Syria, Iraq, first came the group we worked with. They went from the address when they moved to Dundee, and that's what I'm wondering if maybe the same with Ukrainians.
So what you'll need to with the Ukrainian population here, what we'll do is a clear statement that I'll explain, but it's likely to include, for example, advice on references, because they won't have a previous employer. So it will contain advice and guidance on that, and what you do in the event, any event where you meet somebody, like a young person or somebody that's not been in the role for a while, what you do in that case. And so it'll have information on that. The disclosure and conviction process, you need to be clear with employers that you're not going to get that information.
Yeah.
So it's about what other information you're going to get alongside as part of a package. But people will be encouraged to join the PVG scheme straight away. It won't disclose anything because they've not lived in Scotland, but at least they'll be part of continuous monitoring.
So are the employers, sector care providers, going to be aware of this yet, then, or are we to do a bit of education?
You might need to do a bit of education. So we're doing the guide.
David, are you aware of this?
Kind of, yes. We've got our charts and we're looking at any refugees, but we're not aware of the statement yet.
I'll find out when it's due. I think it was recently approved, but it's not been publicised yet. And that's a joint statement from the SSSC and Care Inspectorate. Care Inspectorate regulate employers, and we regulate workers. So we put out joint statements in that event. It's a really interesting area that otherwise, if that information wasn't there, it's just a big gap in knowledge, isn't it?
Farm seekers are coming and we are coming under the category of shortage to job.
Yeah.
And shortage to job, first priority is social health case. In that case, because we have some language issues. People are coming from other countries, we have language issues, no education. What advice? Because their priority is look for that kind of job.
Yeah. It's difficult, and there's a bit of I think with asylum seekers there's such complexity because they're also not getting very much money. You don't have access to public funds. It's really complex. And I mean, all I would say, it would be great if Dundee had a strategy to support asylum seekers, taking into account all the issues that they're dealing with. Also, asylum seekers, although they can't have access to public funds or education, they can get access to ESOL or language courses. So I think that should be built in straight away. We actually put that, we put it in step 2. As a reminder, we've got information from the Scottish Refugee Council that we say if language is an issue for any group for whatever reason, deal with that straight away so that they can get the most out of the rest of the sort of 10 steps or however many steps the person needs. There will be more guidance about it. I'll get you an update. Yeah, and I'll send Jane an update and say when the Ukrainian guide will be specific, and there'll be a specific statement for Ukrainian refugees. But we are also producing a guide with Scottish Refugee Council. That'll be a bit longer. So you'll get information about Ukraine first, and then. Okay, so the next one is train, where we're hoping for a Dundee case study, which I've been promised.
Yeah, it's coming.
Well, I'll have to I'll give you some guidance. Don't worry. But you know, the presentation that Carol and Erin did for our group went down really, really well, and it was amazing. You've designed a brilliant package of support that took into account, I think, most of those elements in the first slide as well. So, you know, it's a brilliant case study to have. This section will also have the careers and care learning resources that I told you about. There's other programs, so you might know about the college Introduction to Career and Social Care, 6 weeks online course. If you don't know about that, just ask me afterwards. Free for anybody to access normally. If it's not offered in Dundee and Angus College, you can go in any college. So I can tell you about that. I've told you about the Prince's Trust. Lots of different programs, and we want to encourage people to get their information, just to shout about it a bit more and tell employers what they're doing. And next steps, finding the right job. So lots of different job websites. You've maybe seen that, you know, if somebody's ready to be a care assistant, you're faced with millions of different sites and adverts, and it's like, well, which one do I choose? So I'll have information about that. Job applications, CVs, and preparing for interviews. So we've got tools, example interview questions, things like that. And finally, develop. So that's that in-work support, and we'll be mainly signposting to our induction framework and our careers website, just to get the sense that it doesn't stop when you start your job, that there's something coming, and that if you're unsure at any point, or if your induction training isn't going well, that you can get back in there and you can keep supporting that person. If they want to continue having that career, if it's not for them, that's fine. But if they want to continue, but they're struggling, you know, there's going to be resources that you can talk to about with your employers. And that's everything. So there's an email address for my team. It's a workforce planning team. All the issues in terms of capacity with the workforce, recruitment protection, the areas around refugees and asylum seekers, that's sort of some of the areas of our team. We do also have a LinkedIn group online, and we do webinars sort of quarterly, sort of workforce planning issues. So it's called Social Care Workforce Planning, I think, on LinkedIn. So you can find that and have a join in. You're welcome to appear at one of our webinars if you're interested in this sector. It'd be great to see you there. And that's everything. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much, Kate.
Hey, thank you. There's our building. You're sitting in it now. Usually when we do this, it's been online. So we like to kind of let people see where we are. So that's a little picture. We are about to look at getting the place freshened up. So that might be the last time you see that green colour at the front door. So Discover Care, we have been delivering care now within the adult team for a number of years. And why we've done it with the high demand, you know, Andy talked about the demand for care. It's only going to be ever growing in the city as well. But like any other kind of employability provider in Dundee, we're all being approached by employers in the sector that are desperate to get kind of the manpower behind the care. And obviously we've heard from you guys today about over 400 vacant posts, which kind of I was a bit of gasped as well. You know, Joyce is going to be very busy over the next wee while. So yeah, there is the need is there. The employment landscape's changed in Dundee over a number of years. We've gone from a very kind of manufacturing industrial setting to hospitality care, and that sector, as Andy showed you, is going to be ever growing because of these baby boomers over here that are getting older and are going to need us to look after them in their old age. We're also looking at reskilling and redirecting the unemployed citizens of Dundee into the growth sector. So Kerry, you talked about how do we sell that? This is where we're trying to come in as an adult employability team. So we're actually working with clients that have got multiple barriers from deprived areas in Dundee. And these are the people that we are trying to kind of, number one, reskill, but also kind of change the growth mindset and the thinking about what you want to do. You know, we're talking about people that have maybe worked in, you know, manufacturing setting, that setting's not there anymore, but they've got these skills. How do you put that into the care setting? And that's kind of a lot of work that's done within the academies and with the help of the employers that we work with as well. Also, we look at kind of re-educating the employers that we work with in the care sector about the barriers our unemployed citizens face and how we can work together to remove these barriers and to also sustain employment. So a lot of the barriers that we're facing, we've got financial kind of hardship, there could be childcare, there could be digital education, such and such. So the team in itself have kind of expert areas that they work in, and you know, things like, to give you an understanding, we'll have a financial expert team that will look at better off calculations. They'll look at working about the financial kind of health of the individual before they actually move into work, and they make sure that these barriers are addressed. But also we like to educate the employers in these barriers, so even when the client is in work and is actually working, if they do start to face some of these barriers, the employer knows to pick up the phone and come and speak to the caseworker or to our employer engagement team, so that the person doesn't fall out of work, so we can then jump in and help out with a situation which creates sustainability both for our clients and for the sector as well. Also, we'll look at linking up the employers with the appropriate funds available from Dundee City Council. So at present, we have two recruitment incentives that we can help employers with in the sector, but we also pay for PVGs, we pay for uniforms, we support our clients with travel, living expenses, etc. on the first kind of month and moving into work. And that's where you'll find that kind of drop off, where a client comes off benefits, moves into work, can be a really tricky time for them when it comes into you know, being in financial hardship. So the team are there to support, and also support the employers as well. The employer engagement team will link in, and if the client is suitable for the recruitment incentives, then that can be applied to the employer and the setting as well. Okay. So just a little kind of example of some of the providers that we work with in Dundee. That's not everyone. We do tend to focus, and I think this is where the difference of where us and the healthcare academies sit. So we tend to focus on the private sector, the third sector, charity organisations, and you know, you can see there that we've got quite a lot of employers that are working. You can see in these photos as well, there's employers coming along and doing talks about their setting and what it's like to be a day in the life in priority care, or a day in the life of Crossroads, etc. And that goes down really well with the clients as well on the academy, which is fantastic. I think what's really important, what's really key to success of the care academies that we deliver, is that these employers are absolutely involved in the shaping of the timetable and what is actually delivered in the academy. So when we move on to kind of looking at the timetable, you'll see that there is, obviously you've got your kind of hardcore employability, general employability, which is also delivered by the same kind of Discover Work team in the Healthcare Academy. But then you'll have what the employers are looking for as well in the setting, and a lot of that is delivered within the academy, and the employers coming into the academy as well. So it's not great up there, but I'll just talk you through some of the bits. I'll not go right through it because I'll bore the life out of you and we'll be here forever. But it's a 2-week academy that we run. So again, it's different to the other academy. It's not as long. And the feedback that we had from our employers was that they didn't want us to deliver the kind of hard, you know, the first aid and the moving handling, because they would do that in the care setting. They wanted us to deliver more about the attitudes, the behaviours, the communication, etc., the employability skills. So you'll see in the timetable, right at the very beginning, at the very beginning, you've got the introductions, the goal setting, the futures, and then you've got the growth mindset. So that's really about shaping the myths around about care, and Joyce will work on, you know, kind of expelling a lot of the myths that are in care alongside the employers. And then we go into kind of the introduction into care as well. What are the different jobs? What are the different kind of providers? What is there out there in Dundee? Home care, etc. You've got your nursing homes, you've got NHS, lots of different opportunities to work in. We also kind of move into a lot of the employability modules. So things that were delivered on the Healthcare Academy, it's kind of the same modules. It's, you know, your CVs, your financial capability, building up confidence about working in a care setting. We have a lot of employer-led sessions. Now, before COVID, we would go out and we would actually go out to the settings, and our group would get to see around either, you know, a lot of the care homes and what it's like, what kind of feels like to be in a care home, and talk to the staff that are in the care homes. Are we back up doing that yet, Joyce? Is that? Not at the moment. So we're hoping to get that back. However, what the employers are doing is they're coming out and they're doing a day in the life in their setting with us. And what we're going to embed in is the 360. So the 360 that SSSC are doing, it's actually kind of guided tours around the care setting. So we're able to embed that within our academy as well. You can also see a lot of the modules that have been put in here from, you know, what the kind of providers are looking for. We've got safeguarding vulnerable adults. We've got a lot of reflection, because we love reflection. Dementia awareness, discrimination and diversity, personal hygiene and personal presentation hygiene. Let's talk about mental health. We've got the importance of SSS, of course, we always have that in there. Personal statements, obviously we do the mock interviews, the applications. So there is a clear mix of a great employability and also what is our employers are looking for as well to be delivered. So here's one of the groups that had come in. A lot of time within the academy is spent about discussing scenarios in the settings and the teamwork to solve issues that kind of they would come across in a care setting. Again, it's dispelling a lot of the myths, taking away a lot of the anxiety of going into a care home. You know, what if this happens? What would I do? Joyce works on a lot of kind of scenarios and talks them through and how to kind of deliver in that situation. And you can see from the little examples down here, and we always do a little kind of distance measured. So how people felt at the very beginning to how they were feeling more at the end of the course. So you can see that a lot of the examples were they were excited, but they were really nervous, they were scared, they were not sure about care. Don't think I will get a job. How's it going to happen? Is it going to happen quick? You know, things like PVG scare people as well. And then by the end of being with us for 2 weeks, they're confident, they're more positive, they're enjoying they enjoy the course, they're not scared, they're looking forward to actually going into the course. And you hear this all the time, when do I start? When do I start? Which is great. So that's kind of the client's quotes, but then we move on to looking at what the employers that we work with have said. A lot of the feedback that we've had is around about kind of, as opposed to general recruitment, new starts that come from the academy are really well informed, they're prepared, and they know what's actually going to face them ahead in a care setting. Whereas people that haven't kind of come through that might, you know, come into a care setting and think, oh my God, this isn't for me. Whereas we've really kind of prepped, you know, and if somebody comes to this point where they think this isn't for me, we would be able to say, right, okay, this isn't for you, we'll take you away from this, but however, let's go and look at something else for you. The employers love coming along and engaging with the clients. That is really, really a key thing as well, because one of the things that employers really, when it comes to the application process and the interview process, they've already met the candidates. So they know them, they've met them on the course, they've come in, they see the actual progression of them, and that really works as well. So yeah, lots of lovely, amazing feedback from our employers. And there we go, there's Joyce, there's the famous Joycey in our wee group. So 100% in work. That's just one of the groups. We look at about probably 80% into work is the lowest, and that 100% are still in work and still sustaining at the moment. We did try to get some of them along today, but they're all working. So we're not going to get them in trouble for that. You know, that's a great thing as well. So yeah. So just on the back of that, I'll just do my selling. We do have, and I've put these on everybody's chair, we do have an information session, and it's based in here. And it's on the 15th of December, and that's to find out about the course, have a little chat, find out if the course is for you. If you know somebody comes in and they want to work in the NHS, then we, of course, we will put them to the NHS Academy. So there'll be a lot of kind of, you know, going back and forward there as well. And we are looking to kind of support, obviously now even more so, as our kind of refugee and BME contracts as well. So we'll be looking to kind of support a lot of our Ukrainians once we know exactly what we're doing with the disclosures as well. That is me. It's all me done. Any questions? So the age range will be working age up. So if they are, we can work, the youth team can refer in. So they can work as long as they're kind of 16 up, out of school, not in education, we can work with them. Yeah. And then it goes up to retirement age. Sorry. Yeah, I can send that to you. That's not a problem. Yeah. Sustainability is measured on our management information system. So we measure 6-month and 12-month sustainability. And we also do in-work support for 12 months as well. 12 months officially, but we tend to still have people that we've worked with from years ago that will pop in and say, I need help, or what do I do in this situation? So yeah, but the official sustainability measures are 6 months and 12 months. Hi, yeah. We're going for about 30. So we have a large building, as you can see, a minimum of 20. But we want to get these, you know, we've got a lot of jobs to fill in Dundee. So we're looking to hopefully do a minimum of 20. But we're very open, yeah. And if we get more, if we get 60 people, we'll run another one right after it, not a problem. And we will support applications as well to you guys, 100%. We'll try and get that number down for you. Anything else? No? Okay.